the most widely recognized and accepted and powerful tool for determining attachment security or insecurity is called the Adult Attachment Interview, the AAI. The AI is a 20-question structured interview where somebody trained to give the interview presents these questions to the interviewee, and all the questions have something to do with attachment experience, asking questions about early history, early relationships with parents, experiences of trauma and abuse in the family or outside of the family, experiences of loss in the family or outside of the family. And based on not only what the person says in response to these questions, but how the person says what he or she says in response to the questions, this gets assessed according to a particular, very elaborate scoring system that was developed for the AI, and one of the 4 subtypes is determined based on that. Okay, so it's a rather elaborate procedure. It requires a well-trained interviewer and well-trained evaluator to do the scoring of the interview, which can range from 60 minutes to 120 minutes, depending on, or even shorter or longer, depending on the particular person. It's not it's a powerful tool, but unfortunately, it's not a particularly practical tool because of the time and money involved for administering or having this administered for oneself. If it's possible for a person who's concerned about his or her attachment status to get this, then it's worthwhile. But again, there are practical limitations for that. Much more widely available are self-report measures for attachment status. Whereas the adult attachment interview and similar interview-based methods, there are several interview-based methods. AI is the most prominently recognized one. Again, it requires 2 people. It's person asking questions, the interviewee responding, the interviewer asking follow-up questions, and it's a dynamic interplay. Self-report measures are just that I see certain questions, I'm asked certain questions, I give particular response, A, B, C, or D, or indicate how much a particular description applies to my relational experience. So, for example, one question might be, I feel comfortable getting close with people. And then I'm asked to rate on a scale of 1 to 7 how much that applies to me. Another question might be, I'm usually afraid my partner will leave me. And the same thing I endorse on a scale of 1 to 7. How fitting that is for my relational experience. These are widely available. They have strengths in that they're widely available. They're rather quick. You can have computerized scoring to provide responses immediately after completing these kinds of tests. The problem is they can suffer from self-report bias. Somebody who wants to present him or herself as better than he or she is in relationships, or maybe even as worse, wanting to present him or herself for some reason as worse than he or she is in relationship, or because of disorganization doesn't really have a clear sense of how he or she is in relationship. So these can affect the ultimate outcome or the particular assessment that's done based on this measure. Also, the AI categorizations and the self-report measure categorizations are not very well correlated. So they both measure something, but they seem to measure something that's not the same, or at least there's some lack of overlap. There's probably overlap, but there's some area of lack of overlap too. One obvious difference is that in the AI, the focus of the questions is on early attachment experience during childhood. Self-report measures typically are about adult relationship experience. And even though there is some correlation between early attachment experience and adult relationship experience, it's not a perfect correlation. And so there are differences of these things. All that being said, I can highly recommend one particular self-report measure that's easily available. If you go to a website, it's called attachmentproject.com.
So funny. I'm on that. I was actually going to ask you if that's a good quiz to take. And was Dan actually? I think Dan was involved with this project.
Dan was involved in the initial setup of the attachment project, and he, before he died, he sort of became less involved with that. But the project, some of the people behind it have continued on, and I would say it's a good resource for people who want to learn some more about attachment. And the particular quiz that when you go to the landing page on this website, it gives people the opportunity to take the attachment quiz, it's called. The attachment quiz that's on that site is the most widely researched and validated self-report measure within the field at present. It's called the Experiences in Close Relationships Scale, and a particular version of that, the latest version of that. So it's the ECRRS, it's called. And it's rather quick to take. I think there's 36 questions, or may even be fewer in that version. And immediately after completing it, you click Submit Results. This is all done anonymously, by the way. You don't have to give any identifying information. Then you'll get a narrative description of your particular attachment pattern and style based on your responses to this assessment. And you'll also get a graphic representation of, within the categories of secure and the three forms of insecure, you'll see where you tend to be based on your responses in relationship with mother, father, and romantic partners. Okay, so I recommend people to take this as a way to learn a little more about themselves.
Yeah, that's an awesome recommendation. I'm going to put that in the show notes so the listeners can check it out.